Welcome to episode 11 of Rock Talk with the Silver Fox. Today, I'm going to be talking to one of the bands that has a really kind of unfair advantage of everybody with their fantastic melodies and harmonizing. It's unfair. They're just that good at it. I have amberstein with me, and it's amberstein, not Steen. I was corrected before we started. So all of us who did it wrong for so long, amberstein. Okay. How you guys doing?
So good. It's been the best year of my life, Gary.
I have Jake, Andrew, Steven, and I. Is it Ivan or Ivan?
Ivan, yeah.
Ivan. Okay, got it. When I say that it's kind of unfair when I listen to your music, which I'm a gigantic fan. First time I ever heard Toast to the Wicked, I was done. I was like, I need to hear everything these guys have. And how you guys harmonize like that is unfair. How do you guys hit that all the time, like every song?
To me, it's if you don't have harmony, you might have left something off the table or something on the table. You know, like by the time a song is done, if there's not some element of harmony in there, I'm like, why not? So I like to have it in wherever it's tasteful. And sometimes it just helps make things bigger. And sometimes, you choose not to have it at certain points. But we value it. We valued it from the beginning because we didn't see a lot of bands doing it. So we thought, if we do it, that does set us apart right there. And I'd like to stand apart for the music's sake. So, yeah, I've always valued it.
That choir teacher speaking, or?
Yeah, I'm a choir teacher. Yeah, I went to, when I met Andrew, I was in college studying choral music education. So from the get-go, if there was going to be singing, I firmly believe there should be harmony wherever is tasteful. Okay, and he's harmonizing too.
All right. Yeah. How you doing, little guy? Congrats on being a dad, by the way.
Yeah. He's 4 months old.
We rented this child for this interview.
Yeah.
I would say value every moment of it. I mean, I have two that are going to be 29 and 26 this year, I think. Something like that.
Yeah. Mom's at work right now, so this is how Dad rolls.
Hey, I'm all good with that. So, while we're talking about your guys' harmonizing it like that, when you put the bands together or you look for new members, is that like that is a definite prerequisite you have to be able to do?
It's kind of a nice to have. I think when we because we have had some turnover in the band. Jake and I are the original members. Yvonne has been with us third longest. Steven has been with us fourth longest. But I think as we go through that process, it kind of ends up working out that way because I think I think this band really hones in on musicality as kind of a foundation of how we write our music and things like that. So the people that we work with, that we love working with, Yvonne, Steven, as kind of an ensemble, both have really great backgrounds, and it just kind of worked out that way. And I think as we went through that process of auditioning people, I think one of the biggest things that we actually focused on before even picking up instruments was actually just meeting with people, which, so much of being in a band, a majority of being in a band is not actually playing music, and how you can function outside of that, I think really speaks volumes about how you can function as an ensemble on stage or in a studio. And so the personalities, really jived as well. And it just, within kind of that same language, the ability to do things like that and recognize, harmony. And I think we're a band that's really big on like justifying everything that's in our music. It just kind of comes with the language that we all speak together. So I think it just kind of happened that way. But I think it came as a result of really going through a thorough vetting process as humans in a lot of ways, which is kind of weird, but probably good. I don't know.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with, the process of finding people to be in the band. There's no checklist. It's really, we start with the person, we start with the fit, we start with all of that and make sure that this is someone who, we can be in a band with, because, you're not always on stage, you're not always jamming, you're talking, you got to get along, all of that stuff. But I think that, to bring it back to the harmony question, our writing process has really become solidified over the years, whereas we write a song and no one hears it live until it's ready. And, sometimes it's not really ready until we've gone through every single layer and written and rewritten. And then, it takes on different lives. And usually one of the last elements is, okay, everyone's mastered their parts as the foundation of this song. Now, like, what can we add to it vocally to make it bigger where it needs to be? And so then it's like, okay, you're playing that. Can you sing this while you're doing it? And then we get the 2-part and the 3-part harmonies. And sometimes that happens when we're recording a song. We typically record a song while we are writing it on our own and then experiment with all of those layers. And, to me, a song can be rewritten so many times. And then when you finally know it's done, that's when all the harmony's there. That's when all of the different layers are there. And so it's just a part of the palette that we use to write our songs. This is like, it's a great option to have. We're not going to force harmony into songs, but it's become kind of a trademark of our sound. So we definitely want to keep it in there when people expect it and when we think it'll make the music better.
Spoken like a music pro. I mean, I've been around a lot of bands. I've seen a lot of writing processes, and that is about as in depth I think anybody has gone that is not a producer. It very interesting. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. Like I don't want to keep coming back to Toast of the Wicked. That's a perfect example. One of the things that I think you guys aren't known for your harmonizing. You guys are also, every last one of you, fantastic musicians. I got to stop that. That's number 2. I'm keeping count of those. You guys are very guitar driven. Like if you play guitar in amberstein, you have to be good. I mean, really good. There's no like simple parts to it.
I'm glad that you pick up on that because it's hard to find people who can play this music and play it to the standard that we hold ourselves to. And, Andrew and I have been here from the beginning and gone through the process to get, a few people up to speed throughout the years, and it is a mountain. And Stephen just went through that a little over a year ago. Yvonne went through that 3 years ago. And I mean, they can tell you more about what it's like, but there's definitely a lot of detail to our music, the way that it's written and the way that the finished product is, whereas sometimes you might expect to learn a song by learning the pattern and learning the chord progression, but our songs are what I would call through composed. So start to finish, you may hear the same thing, but it's different the next time you hear it just a little bit, to where you need to know what version and what verse you're in to really nail it and pull it off the way it's intended to. So that detail oriented and intention that we write with is, I think our trademark more than anything.
Guys, how do you feel about how they put their guitar parts together? I mean, you guys, you have to be spot on with that. You really have no choice.
Yeah, it's really important that we go through the process of working out which guitar parts we're going to actually play and actually practicing through them. Like Steven and I, we try to focus in on that. If we find an area that's maybe not as interesting, we'll maybe throw a harmonizing guitar in there or add something atmospheric just to add that additional element to that part of the song. And I think we really, we benefit doing that. I feel like our songs come out stronger when we add those parts into them. It's a fun process going through that, coming up with different guitar lines or, in the case of Steven, like coming up with different leads. It's just a fun process, whether we're, maybe sometimes we'll experiment on stage. Otherwise we'll experiment during our rehearsals. So it's always fun. We can do that.
Yeah. And that's the thing with the music is there's so many different kinds of textures within it too that progress throughout the songs, and deciding, who's playing what, who's adding what layer to the part that we're playing in the song. It's like just really interesting to make it come together with utilizing the different instruments, with like Jake playing bass too, because Jake will be doing something wild under us. There's just so many layers to the different parts of the songs, and the way we make them all kind of come together. It's fun really going through that. And that was the thing with like learning all the songs too. For me, when I was starting, I had to basically learn them all with a pretty short period of time. So with them changing so often and different parts coming at different times, it was like I just had these songs on repeat and had to literally embed it in my brain, because the songs just have so much to them. And it's not just something you can, learn 4 chords and the song. You're going to have to actually know the song to a T, and then also technically be able to play it. So it's
go on tabs and learn it.
No, it's just, I don't know. It's either rehearsing with Jake and Andrew and Yvonne, or just doing it by ear. I did probably about 70% by ear, and then they would kind of guide me the rest of it. But it was pretty insane though, learning the material, because there's just so much to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of small details that you might miss. And, I just feel really fortunate to have 2 guitar players who can hold their own on their own part, different from each other. So they're not having to look at each other to line up and to match. Everyone is an independent player in the same ensemble, and we play cohesively. We've all been in bands before this. For me, I was in a band that had 2 guitarists. I was with them for over 10 years. And so often both guitarists were playing the exact same thing. And so with this, having 2 guitarists, I'm like, I don't want to be that band. I want to be the band that has 2 guitarists who are fully utilized all the time to make the music as good as it can be. So 2 guitars is like having 2 people who can sing. They should both do their own thing to make it as good as possible.
And it's such an interesting dynamic that these guys were not for a bulk of our catalog. They weren't there to write it, but it was so important to us that it's not this Jake and Andrew and then the rest of the band. It's so important to us that we feel like a band. So not that we've given them liberty, but they assume liberty to make the parts really their own, as long as the ensemble can convey, different moments and things like that were intended. They've Yvonne and Steven have just done phenomenal work in making the parts their own, which is awesome, because it's like a re-envisioning of those parts. So it's really cool how they've really made them their own, and not to tip the cap too much, but in some of the upcoming music we have coming out with these dudes, we're pretty damn pumped. This is explicit, right? We're pretty fucking pumped.
Yeah. I told you, I can't go. I've yet to go a whole interview without dropping, I think on the low end, probably 8 or 9 F-bombs. So,
I could beep us out as we go. I'm
not smart enough to do that.
Pumped. pretty.
You have a little duck. The duck sound.
I'm not smart enough to do that. And one of the things I've said in almost every one of these interviews is it amazes me. I really think music is in your DNA because I can play a little bit of every instrument, but I suck at them all, like horribly. I don't do it publicly, I pick up a guitar here or there, or if Billy's not looking, jump behind his drum kit or something stupid like that. And I usually get the fuck away from my stuff, You guys are taking things to a whole new level. Listening to you guys, we're getting an education, a music education, how deep you are. And I don't know how you guys are going to take this, but it reminds me, and I'm really trying hard to remember the founder of Boston, but it sounds like you guys are like right in that vein, the way he needed everything to be. Like when he started, there was the guitar player for Boston. When he started Boston, the album was done before the band. It was done. He recorded it in his garage, brought in the singer. Okay, now this is how it goes. And he worked on those layers and layers and layers. That's why they have 3 albums, 4, but they're all iconic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, I love Boston. I love it. We have a lot of influences, to me, when I try to imagine this band just member for member, I can't help but think of, and it's a terrible example because they're a 3-piece, but I think of Rush. The way that all 3 of those guys cover so much ground and just own their instruments. And that they write by committee and they make each other better. Any one of them as a solo artist would not be as good as them as a group. And so that's the kind of fortunate community that I think Amberstein really has as an ensemble.
The exchange of parts too, with Rush, we do a lot of the same things in terms of that. And that always makes it fun, and we can trade off maybe different vocal lines between Jake and Andrew or guitar lines between Steven and I. So,
Andrew, you do a lot of singing too, for a drummer especially. I mean, a lot.
Yeah, I think like anybody who, whether it's drumming or playing guitar or whatever, at the onset, it was like, this part, like a harmony is so way, way, way back when we started writing music, like harmonies were like, oh dude, it'd be so cool if that was in there, but nobody was like stepping up to do it. And so I had to go through the awkward, embarrassing phase of learning how to sing while drumming. And you just look like you're having like a moment. And like you have a big gaping mouth and you look stupid because your brain doesn't have enough oxygen and but you might be yes. Yeah, I like it. I mean, I enjoy plugging in that way, especially, I mean, like Jake mentioned, it's a layer that really amplifies the impact of the music. I try not to suck, that's where I
You don't suck, dude. You're better than most lead singers.
You do an okay job, Andrew. You do an okay job.
Yeah, I
ain't much, but it's honest work.
I love having Andrew's voice to kind of, collaborate with, and there's been songs that, we've written that we haven't recorded or released or played or anything, but we've experimented with having Andrew just sing lead, at least through the whole verses, and then let me take over on the chorus so he can play drums or sing the whole thing. And sometimes that's a real conversation. It's like, well, is this your song to sing, or do you want me on this? If he comes in with the idea and things like that. So it's just a mutual respect for all the members in the band, that it's like, you've got these talents, we got to use them, as much as we want to.
And one thing I have noticed over the years too is just how great your voices, you and Andrew, your voices blend together. I mean, I think I recognized it at first when I first joined the band, but hearing it through the recording process too, it's been awesome too. Just like hearing you guys.
I have like a lower like masculine voice, and then we have Jake's voice.
Yeah.
No, I honestly think that it comes easy. It seems to come easy because Andrew we've been working together for so long that he knows the things that I focus on as a singer and knows how to emulate them and how to match them. Because if you're singing in harmony and you're doing your vowels entirely different, those vowels are not going to blend, and it's going to sound like two people singing in songs on different planets. And so like that's the choir teacher in me, and I think that I've really, really stressed those details just in rehearsal so much to where it's become a second nature to like when we do it, we're thinking about matching each other. We're thinking about breathing at the same time. We're thinking about dynamically moving this way and following the inflections and diction and all of these musical things that, you know, I studied in a real nerdy setting as a classical musician and now bring to rock. So it's fun.
When are you starting your own YouTube channel there, Jake? Because one of my favorite ones I watch right now is called The Charismatic Voice. And it's an opera teacher chick, and people send her music. She watches the video, first time ever, no, like never watching the video before, and critiques it and speaks quite a bit like you. You know, the vowels and the diction and this and that. And look how they sing with their mouth open and how they have their feet grounded into the stage. And, you know, and the very first one I watch is Pantera's Cemetery Gates. And I'm like, how's this going to work? And it's fantastic. Check it out. The Charismatic
it would
Voice.
be okay. I'd love to. Yeah, it would be really fun to do something like that. You know, I have taught privately other rock singers on the scene and coached people and worked with people. And a lot of the time, you know, the way that starts is, you know, so-and-so is blowing out their voice left and right, or so-and-so wants to be able to sing higher or sing cleaner or sing with more, you know, confidence. And so this is kind of how that works sometimes, you know, that back and forth and putting it in words that people can understand and apply and then try. But yeah, it's the one thing that I really, really geek out about is, you know, the term for it is vocal pedagogy. And it is like,
Jesus.
it's fun.
Can you spell that?
Well, vocal, V-O-C-A-L, pedagogy, P-E-D-A-G-O-G-Y.
Get geeking out on it, folks.
My first,
He'll get off, like if we play with any other bands, and if the singer has a good voice, like the first, like Jake will come over to me, he'll be like, he or she has a really healthy voice.
Yeah, it's true. It's my highest compliment.
It's like going to, like I was talking about that charismatic voice. You'll hear some of these people, and I'm trying to remember. There's this one chick. When she has like a death growl, I mean, she sings really, really clean, and all of a sudden, her register drops lower than any man I've ever heard. And you could understand every word, and it's just a growl. It's like, oh my God, this poor girl's going to hurt herself. And she's a little thing. I'm really trying to remember the name of the band, but
if you're into it, my first exposure to vocal pedagogy was a woman named Melissa Cross, and she's the one who pioneered the Zen of screaming. And so she's worked with a lot of the heavy screamers that you've heard. One of her longest time students is Randy Blight from Lamb of God. And so when I knew that that's who was teaching him, you know, I got her DVD when I was probably 15, 16 years old and just ate up everything about it. And that was like the foundation of my vocal technique when I started to learn what to really do was the Zen of screaming.
yeah, I mean, if you do it correctly, I can't remember the girl's name in this particular YouTube series, but yeah, she's always talking about like Bruce Dickinson or Phil from Pantera. Look how they have their feet into the stage, and they open their mouth, and you can see their teeth. It's not hurting their voice at all. Yeah. This girl does a death growl. She goes, look at her neck. It doesn't expand.
Mm-hmm. It's about being relaxed and focusing your resonance to work for you, not against you, so that your voice has power without having to add anything artificial to it. To be really nerdy.
and yeah, fantastic.
Sorry, I'll stop talking now.
No, I mean, you guys can jump in anytime you guys want. With this past year, it's been a pretty much consensus that for live music, 2020 just sucked. It just kicked us all right in the dick. I mean, it wasn't any fun.
That's a good way to say it.
Yeah.
What are you guys looking at in the near future?
As far as live music goes?
Yes.
Or as
Let's
well,
start
first
there.
off, I think to start, we're going to have to find what venues are still there. I mean, we've lost a lot of venues that we loved playing, and some of them I don't know if they're fully active at the moment or not. We also want to really make sure that the shows that we do play really count. And so that's a matter of finding the right opportunities, because your first show back, you want it to be big. And we've got new music, so that might go hand in hand with it. I mean, the other guys can talk, but that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, as crappy as it was, or as it has been, I should say, we probably couldn't have been in a better position where we were in like our like mode, if you will, because we had started the recording process for a project. I mean, we had to put it on the shelf because everything was kind of on the shelf for a few months. But, once we kind of had some good working knowledge on how we could not get each other sick and continue the recording process, we were able to. And so we, the process was great. We worked with, and we're still working with Nick at this is the Burst Collective. The studio is called. It's in Wauwatosa. It's with Nick Rad
At Wire and Vice. It was at Wire and Vice.
Wire and Vice.
But he's independent now. His producer name is Nick Rad. His last name is really hard to pronounce, so he just goes by Nick Rad. And he's a pretty rad dude. And if you looked up his credits, I think you'd really understand why we're working with him, the artist he's been working with. So it's been really fun.
Yeah, but we were in a good position where we could kind of slow walk. We didn't have a bunch of shows booked because we were really going to commit to that process. But it was good. It allowed us to really, I mean, if this music isn't good, like we just suck because we've had so much time to make it as good as we can. So I'm just going to put the pressure on now. But no, I think the timing worked out in a way where we could salvage, progress because we could keep working on recording that music and refining that music, which was really cool. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think.
So I decided that I'm technically challenged, and we had a little glitch, so we got everybody back. Where we left off, we were talking about how you guys had taken some time off, and that the time off of 2020 kind of helped you guys as far as writing and stuff, the projects you'd been working on. Is that where we were at?
Yeah, we had just started a recording project, and it worked out because we didn't have shows on the horizon for a bit, and then nobody had shows on the horizon for a bit, so it was like, hey, whatever, But we still had the recording project, and we're coming up to everything's been recorded for a while. We're just getting through mixing and mastering, and we're really excited about what's going to be coming out.
When do you see a release date?
Us too.
Yeah, we have not set a release date yet, but we will soon, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're kind of it's like, people are holding the hose of new music, because whether they were not recording or wherever they're at in the project. And so we're trying to determine how we can be as impactful as possible. I mean, there's the adage of like, not a lot of people are pushing out new music right now. Does that mean it's not saturated? So should we do it? Mm-hmm. Or is it concerning that people aren't releasing a ton of music? There's still bands releasing music for sure, but I don't know. We haven't been in this conundrum before.
Yeah, we're kind of at a point now where we've got the music written. We're in the very final stages of like post-production and mastering. So when it's time to go, we can make it happen. We've been working on some of the accompanying, content that's going to go out with the music when we do. And we just got to establish our team to do it as far as things like, publicity and playlisting and all that goes. And so like we're working behind the scenes in capacities that we, haven't really utilized all of those services in the past. So like we're at the point now where it's like, okay, let's do our research. Let's make sure that we make the biggest splash possible. Let's do this as if we were on a major record label, if that's even possible for a band our size right now. So we're very much in a different mode than, just
amazing
looking
you
for
guys
our
aren't
next show.
on a bigger label.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I mean, honestly, I listen to your CDs. I hear you on Spotify. I have the CD, and people always ask me one of my favorite songs, because I do a lot of independent music, and I know I'm beating this horse to death. Is I always pull up "Toast to the Wicked." It is amazing how it's not like an iconic song in the entire music catalog forever. I don't know.
That's
goes to prove once again, that independent music, you have to have a bit of luck or some money behind you. And
yeah, or both, a lot of both.
yes, a lot of both. You're, like I said, I listen to the CDs. I hear it all. Andrew's drums, we talk about his singing. We talk about this. We talk about that. We don't really talk about his drumming. It's phenomenal. He's right up there with one of the best around. He really is.
Thanks.
Your guitars, I've brought it up earlier. If you can't play guitar like really well, you don't have a place at Amberstein. Stein. You really don't have a place. There was some guys before you that were phenomenal also. For whatever reason, bands grow and they evolve and go whatever directions they do. But it was already planted. So you couldn't go out and just get a whole hum guitar player like, yeah, he's okay. That doesn't work. Not in your band.
It's funny. We've never had a fill-in. I don't think it would be possible.
Yeah.
Like we've never had somebody stand in for one gig just to play the songs. Anyone who ever did that, it was part of like transitioning into the band. And, we've all been on the scene. We know that sometimes things come up and it's like, oh, so-and-so from this band is playing with this band tonight. Let's go see it. That's really cool. That's never once happened in this band in the 7 years we've been playing out. Never once. Because I don't think that it's really feasible in a lot of ways.
We've adapted to any of those situations, whether it's between lineup changes, and we've made things work. We worked through that process, and I feel like it's been successful for the most part.
It's very successful.
Yeah.
I would turn around. What I guess I'm trying to say is, Yvonne and Steven, they couldn't take a step down. So they went out and got 2 more guns, and said, all right, let's do this. Mm-hmm. And, I think one of the people that surprised us all before you guys was when you had Brock Betts, who's known for his crazy solos and when you got Brock, I was sitting back going, is this going to work? Because I like Brock Betts on his own. I really do. And I like Stein.
I kind of like Amberstan. Let's go with that.
What I was doing was I was saying Einstein to myself in my head. That's how that came out. So I could get to the right he was really, like I said, I really like him. I really liked you guys. And I was like, do they mesh? And they do. They do mesh, and it's okay. But I didn't know if it was going to stay meshed. That was my concern.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah.
You know, and I would say with Brock, we caught that moment in a bottle where everything kind of aligned with him, and it was cool. I mean, it was a cool time, you know. And I think everything that he I know a lot of his big influences are some of the big instrumental guitarists of the world, you know, Joe Satriani.
Right. I was going to say Satriani. That was the first one came to mind when I hear him.
Yeah. And you know, all those guitarists are a brand in and of themselves, you know, and so anything and everything that he touches will certainly, you know, be greatly benefited. And yeah, I think with us, you know, we were grateful for the opportunity to have him and you know, capture some of the tunes we wrote and recorded with him, you know, and really pull that element into the Amberstein brand. And yeah, it was, but you're right. I mean, hitting the nail on the head. I mean, I think it was an interesting dynamic, and I think it really, you know, there's moments that they have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and you know, no part of it is more important than the other. And I think it was just, you know, we caught some really cool synergy with him when he was in the band, for sure.
Yeah, we, for the 1 year, we came up with a lot of good music. That's when we recorded Freedom Known. You know, we wrote most of that stuff with him. That was a lot of fun. And it seems like a long time ago. I mean, it was. Yeah. I mean, Steven's been with us all of the last year that we haven't been out on the scene. So everything seems more recent than it is. You know, and Steven had been playing with us for maybe 4 or 6 months before things kind of shut down. And maybe it's longer than that. I don't know. But I honestly...
Yeah, if not.
Yeah.
But you guys see
we did that. Pretty much.
Do you see you guys ever going like out on the road? Or do you see yourself trying to stay more or less weekend warrior-ish?
I think that, you know, I'm going to go back to something that Andrew said early on in the interview about our music, is that everything we do is completely justified. And so there are ways to build a following. So when we go to a city we've never been to before, there's a demand for that music because it's known. I think that's kind of the angle that I want to take, that, you know, we build our audience as much as we can through our music because that's the product. And then a tour is something that it's like a cart and a horse. You know, we've, you know, a couple of years ago, you know, previous lineup, but Andrew and I, like we spent a summer going out, playing as many states as we could, and learned a lot. And, you know, felt like we'd maybe put the cart before the horse in that instance. And so now, you know, we just have a different mindset of it. I would definitely not rule it out by any means, but it would have to be justified. And it would have to be something that audiences where we're traveling are waiting for and hungry for and want. And it's not us just driving there to play and then to drive back to have an experience that we could have had much more locally.
Mm-hmm. Not just to go on a field trip.
Correct. Yeah. And if someone else wants to throw their 2 cents in, that's just kind of my point of view.
You know, you guys know I manage Left of Reason, and we did let's go down to Florida. We played out in Reno. We played North Carolina, pardon me. We played Kentucky. We played all these places once, and we sat down and we made a concerted effort and a discussion and a plan that basically said, we own our area, our little spot here. We know when we come in, we're going to bring a crowd. So why are we running to Reno, or why are we running to Florida or North Carolina, Tennessee, all these different places we went, when we don't own our own area just outside of us? So like kind of expand it. So now we say, when we conquer the Midwest, then we'll go on a national tour.
Absolutely. And for us, I mean, I firmly believe and always have that all we need is an audience. And you could drive through the night and play somewhere for a very small audience. So you can get an audience in the next town over of people who've never heard you and build your following and build your number of actual, physical fans with heartbeats that, pays off a lot more in the long run than overextending yourself as a band, putting yourself out there when the demand isn't there where you're headed. And so it's a timing thing. And so when the demand is there for a national tour, the national tour will be there.
Mm-hmm.
I also,
go ahead.
I've spoken to many bands, and you guys have too. A really good friend of mine, I did an interview with probably 2 or 3 episodes before from Pump 5. I've tried to tell a lot of people, because I spent a lot of time in California, that everybody wants to go to California. Well, the rock scene in California is dead.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking Southern California. Everybody, let's go play the Whiskey. You can take an opening slot, pay $700, and you can play the Whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
It's that easy. They don't play in California, period. They come right here to the Midwest because this is where the rock scene is at. We right here are living in it. Now, speaking of the rock scene, you guys are based out of Milwaukee, more or less. Like that's how, at least how you sell yourselves.
Yeah, 3 of us live in Milwaukee. Yeah. And then there's Steven.
Kenosha.
Kenosha.
No, he's in Twin
No, not
Lakes.
Kenosha. That's Brock. Sorry.
Hey, I'll be a little closer next month.
Twin Lakes. Oh yeah, all the way to
Wants to
East,
help.
all the way to East Troy, where they have a train
USA,
museum.
Stephen will
Yeah.
tell you. Great movie.
You guys are totally different than all the bands I hear out of Milwaukee. I sit around like, they're from Milwaukee, okay. Because I have different bands that get a hold of me. Like I not only do Left to Reason, I put on a lot of shows. Hey, can you help us with the show? Hey, can you help with this show? And unfortunately for those other bands, a lot of times, I think Milwaukee, I think you guys. So then I look it up, and I'm like, where can I fit them? Now, you guys are that interesting dynamic also, where fit for a show has become a really big thing for me. There's very good heavy bands. I'll call them Cookie Monster vocal bands. You guys don't fit there. I mean, you can do it. You can go in there and you can win that crowd, but I don't like really sticking people like that, like doing that. Like my Rock to Stop 22 show that I do, and you guys did my very first one I did. By the way, I have 1 slot open for this year's, and it's in August. It's outdoors. I've got some pretty heavy hitters on it. I have 1 slot open, and I'd like to talk to you guys when we're done.
That would be fun.
I'd love to have you on that show.
We'll talk off the interview about that, because that could be cool.
That'd be really
That'd be very cool. Free camping. Free
There's
too.
always free camping if you're not afraid to sleep in someone's yard.
Last
This
time
is at a campground. We moved it to a campground because it's gotten big enough. So
nice.
that's awesome, man. Good for you.
That was a fun time.
yeah, it's a lot of fun bands that we have on. Your guys' social media, I scroll through your Facebook and stuff like that. You guys do some interesting things. Seriously, you were the Scarecrow?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think, well, and kind of, I think this fits in well with the whole idea of where, why do we play shows? Why do we travel? Why do we not? I think all of us would probably say if it was all said and done and we could make music our career, and we could continue to write music and release music as a band and it be self-sustaining, we would probably do that, And so with that goal in mind, you got to work backwards. Like how do you get there? And I think in today's day and age, there's a lot of different ways to do it. Social media, the digital era that we're in right now that reigns supreme. There's an amount of success that comes out of being very present on social media. So yeah, we try to do, I don't know, we try to, Steven's done a really good job in kind of talking about what some of our focus should be. And it should be really about, what makes us unique as people, what's kind of our brand as a band, as a collective of people, and how do we get people to interact with that? So Steven's been really great at helping us build that out, and we've all really, kind of taken our turns, feeding the social media beast. Because people are there, like that's the audience, and it's really interesting that you mentioned like the status of rock and roll in California, because the Midwest, I agree, I think there's a lot of opportunity for rock bands, original rock bands. But at the same time, like the notion of just local music is, especially with this, I think there's going to be a huge return and a huge appetite for live music, definitely, which we definitely want to.
I think this summer you're going to see an explosion of the shows.
Yeah.
People are going to go to shows that they really don't even want to go to. just it's live music.
Just to get out. Yeah.
I'm one. I live 6 minutes from the back bar in Janesville.
Oh yeah.
And I will probably go to quite a few shows that I could care less if I go or not.
Yeah.
There's definitely shows like I know I'm gonna be there.
Oops, hey buddy. So Andrew was the scarecrow, to bring it back, and I think that social media, you can strike so many different tones, and there's a very social and friendly and like interactive personal tone that you can take that I think pays off a lot, because we're not able to connect with our fans in a candid way when we're not out playing shows right now. So this is a way to sort of reach out and build those relationships in some ways, because if we can laugh at ourselves, you can laugh at us too. Or if you want to hear us perform, we'll post videos and stuff like that. And so just keeping it going in a way that opens doors instead of builds barriers between our fans. Because if we were just promoting every single day, like listen to this, people would tune us out. But if we keep it changed up a little bit and interact, and there's a lot more that you can build community-wise that way.
Here's a question that I need to ask, if nothing else, for myself. How do you guys got to know that when you guys show up to a show, you are the nice guys? You guys extremely friendly, low key, never a problem, never loud, not the drunk fool. None of that. You guys are the nice guys. When you have amberstein on your bill, right away, okay, I don't have to worry about that ever. I watch you at your merch booth and everything, and everything's like, hi, how are you doing? Thanks for coming to the show. And it's awesome. It's just like real smooth, real easy, always. From this interview, it seems that's the way you guys just are.
Yeah, it's the kind of people that we want to work with. We wouldn't be in a band with someone who wasn't always kind and respectful and professional. There is a way that you can carry yourself in the scene where no one wants to be associated with you, or there's a way that you can carry yourself where everyone respects you, whether they like your music or not. And, we've always erred on the side of professionalism and, just building connections between other bands and other venues and other management. And, there's a lot more to be gained from being nice than there is to be lost from being an asshole. And, we've seen that in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, as like the newest member, like coming into it, that was like the first thing I noticed was how professional everyone in the band was and how, articulate everyone was. And there's just like everyone in the band was someone I could look up to and for myself in general. So it was just like, that's just the natural way that they carry themselves. And I was just so happy to be a part of, something that actually carries itself with that professionalism and just with people who are all around just good people. Like they have become, my family in a very short period of time. And I can't say that about a lot of people that I've met in general. So they're just, everyone just carries themselves in a very positive, professional manner. And it's pretty nice.
Okay, I got to bring up, and we're going to have to start wrapping this up here pretty quick. I cannot have this interview without asking this question. Andrew?
Yes, sir.
Your mother has got to be one of the coolest people I have ever met at every amberstein show. Everyone. She's out there dancing. That's my son. That's my son. He's playing drums. These guys are great.
She knows all the words too.
She knows everything.
And she is by far and away your biggest fan and of the whole band. But mama's boy. That's got to be an interesting dynamic.
It's
Mom
a
at
package
every
deal.
show.
It is. I think growing up, my parents and I probably interpreted it as them intentionally trying to be embarrassing, like growing up. But I'm so grateful for them. They've been so incredibly supportive throughout my life with music and virtually every aspect of my life. And I count my blessings every single day because of that. And it's interesting because this is a weird kind of turn, whatever. But my dad had cancer at one point a few years ago, and it just I don't know. It just really opened my mind up to how not to take anything for granted. And so I'm just so grateful. I mean, she's awesome. She has fun. She
has a blast, dude.
She does.
Yeah, whether she's drinking or not, she's having a good time.
First time I saw you was at Hijinks when that was still opened.
Yeah.
And, I was listening. It's the first time I'd ever heard you guys. And I was like, wow, check this out. And I moved up front. And Mom's just out there dancing away. And she bounces into me like 2 or 3 times. And I'm like, man, I really don't want to accidentally knock this lady over. She's not a big lady. I'm fat. No. I take up some space. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to put her on the ground, please.
Yeah, she's exuberantly taking some tumbles sometimes, but she always gets right back up and she's ready to rumble. She'll mosh with anybody, but she dances when she moshes.
There's never a time where I don't see her singing along in the front. Like honestly, every song, every lyric, like that. Honestly, like I don't know, it just gives us that energy. It really does. Like
she is the elixir. She is everything.
The elixir. Exactly.
Mascot.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't mean to.
We all love her. She's great.
Anybody who's been to your shows knows your mom, even if they've only been once.
Yeah.
I can literally say none of us would be here without our parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that.
They made us.
Yeah. Thanks.
That's very nice, Jake. Thanks.
Science, biology, yeah.
And I was going to say, when Steven says he looks up to us, I was going to say, well, we look up to him because he's taller than us.
Well, guys, I should have this up on Spotify either tonight or early tomorrow morning. And then the following day, I'll have this interview on YouTube.
Excellent.
I've got to say, the education you guys have given me on music and using words that nobody else has. The ensemble and it's fantastic. It was really, really interesting for me and educational. I'm really interested in seeing you guys when we get back out there and, hooking up with you guys for some shows. You guys are phenomenal. You deserve the awards you've gotten. Didn't you get a Wisconsin Music Award or something like that?
Yeah, last 2 years ago, we were Best Alternative Rock Band, and then before COVID, we were nominated for Best Hard Rock Band. So
you deserved it. You really did. I mean, I'm not just saying that because you're on my show. You guys deserved it. And you put in the work. And like I said, I started the whole thing off. You guys have an unfair advantage because I don't know anybody at our level, the next level, even the level above it. I mean, I guess the closest might be the Lonely Ones when they did Flash, their remake of Flash, but they remade somebody else's thing to do that. You guys do it with your own, So,
thank you. Let's get some listeners on Spotify then.
Yeah.
You can follow
on
us
Spotify,
too.
and I'll definitely be sharing the links with you guys. For those who are watching on YouTube, go over to Spotify. If you're on Spotify, go to YouTube. Subscribe. Hit that stupid subscribe button. It's right there. I think it's right there. I think. And yeah, with that, I want to thank you guys very much. Want to let everybody know my next interview is going to be with Ruins. Those of you who don't know Ruins, they are the three guys that are left over from Hollowell. And with that, I'm going to say have a good day to everybody and rock on. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Gary. See you soon.